Well, hello everybody. I hope you're all doing great. Check this out. I need 2 hands to lift it. GFX 100 megapixel medium format camera. No, I haven't gone mad and mortgaged the house for a second time to buy a camera. It's a loaner from Fuji that I'll be trying out for the next couple of weeks. And luckily, I just happen to be going to the Canadian Rockies in the next couple of days. So the time that this video comes out, I'll be in the Rockies and it will give me a good opportunity to really put this through its paces. The reason why I decided to get a loaner was, well, first of all, I just wanted to try the camera out. And secondly, I wanted to see if there was much difference between the Fuji GFX 50R. I suspect that there isn't a huge difference. It seems that the higher the quality the cameras get, the nuances between each of those cameras gets smaller and smaller, but the price gets bigger and bigger. This camera is actually not a bad deal right now. I think it's around $5,000, which is still a lot of money, but for a medium format camera, that's one heck of a deal. This camera here is $13,000 Canadian, which is quite a chunk of change for a camera. But when you compare it to medium format cameras of the same quality, 100 megapixels like the Phase 1 and the Hasselblad in that genre, for those cameras, you know, you're talking quite a bit more money than $13,000. So the prices have come down considerably, but they are still high, if that makes sense. So I'm really looking forward to that. And, you know, hopefully in my videos, I'll be able to do a little bit of a comparison. I'm not going to do an all-out review of this camera because there's so many reviews on YouTube already, and there's other YouTubers that do a way better job than I could ever do. I'm just more into using the cameras and taking photographs. I don't actually care about all the different functions on these cameras. As long as I can turn it on, change the aperture, change the shutter speed, ISO, then I'm happy. So yeah, and they also sent me a couple of lenses to try out. This is the 45 to 100, which I would love to have. But you know, that's a $4,000 lens and I just don't have that kind of money kicking around right now. And also this lens here, which is one heck of a beefy lens, very heavy. This is the 250 f4, and I think this is the largest lens that they make for the GFX series of cameras. And actually I just noticed it's missing its lens collar, so that might be a little bit of a problem. But anyway, I'm looking forward to trying this out. I probably won't be backpacking with this one. All right, what am I going to be talking about today? Well, over the last few weeks, we've just been inundated with American politics, and not only politics, but the smoke coming up from Oregon and California. The air quality and visibility up on the island here in Vancouver has just been awful. So it hasn't been very conducive to photography. And on top of that, I haven't been terribly inspired. Usually happens this time of year. So I've been looking through some of my older images that I took last year and the beginning of this year, and trying to see if I can find any gems in those photographs. And there was one photograph in particular that there were a couple of major problems with it, but I tried to work them out in Lightroom, and I think I did a reasonably good job, and I posted it on Instagram and people really liked it. So I thought I would show you what I did to that image. There might be a couple of tips or tricks that will help you out in your own processing if you have images that don't quite make the cut. So why don't we get stuck right into that? One last thing, for those of you that are unaware, I also have a subscription on my YouTube channel. Now, some of you might not be able to see it, especially if you watch YouTube on TV or on your phone. But if you watch it on your desktop, there's actually a little join button there. If you press that, you can join up for extra videos. There is a price involved. It's a subscription based. But if you're interested in watching videos of some of the processing techniques that I use, then be sure to go check that out. All right, without further delay, let's just get stuck right into this this photograph. All right. Okay, the image that we're going to be working on today is actually this one here. And it seemed to resonate with a lot of people, got a lot of comments. And I was really quite happy with how the image came out. I took this on a day last October, I believe it was. Let's just have a look in the library here. Yeah, October, with a lovely couple from Texas that I was doing a one-to-one with in the Port Renfrew area, which is on the west coast of Vancouver Island. And the weather was quite sunny. We had some nice fog in the morning and then it kind of dissipated, so we went for a bit of a drive. And this was just some second growth forest, nothing too thrilling, but the light was really quite nice. And I was trying to show these people how I go about just photographing the light. When the light comes through the woods, just pinpoint some areas on trees and just focus on that rather than the subject. Because the trees on the west coast here are not terribly interesting when it comes to photography. The old growth forests certainly are, but there isn't that much around here. So conifers, just more or less straight up and down, not that interesting, not for me anyway. So we found this beautiful little area. The problem was it was very busy. There was a lot going on. So this is the final image here. And here's another photograph from the same area. And also this one. This was the same morning. And then a couple of days ago or a week ago, I was just fiddling around with some photographs, looking at some of the other images that I took. And I came across this one. Now, the problem that I have with this photograph, here is the raw file here, and you can see that it's quite a departure from my final result. The biggest issue with me with this image wasn't the light so much. I really love the light, especially on the mossy branches here. The biggest issue was all this clutter up in the top here. Oops. So if we just go to 1 to 2 here, you can see that I just couldn't avoid this this clutter in the top here. And I pretty much wrote the image off because of that. So coming back to the processing, I had another look at this and I thought, oh, let's just see what I can do with this, with the intention of actually cloning a lot of this clutter out. But sometimes you can get away with leaving clutter in. You just have to hide it, kind of strategically hide it behind some dodging and burning. So that's what we're going to do here. So we'll just go to the basic module here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually reduce the whites. So let's bring those down all the way down to 50. And the highlights, I'm going to bring those down. Let's go way, 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 way down. Something like that maybe. The shadows I'll bring up just a little bit. And I think that's about it. Let's have a quick look in here. As far as color temperature goes, it's fine because we're going to fiddle with that in a little bit. And exposure, the exposure is fine too. Blacks, let's just bring those up just a little bit. And then lastly, I'm going to actually crop this. Now I've said this a number of times, I really like the 4:5 aspect ratio, and that's what I'm going to use in this image as well. So we'll just, I think I'll bring it to about there. All right, so if we compare this to my finished image, you can see that there's quite a difference in the type of image that I've gone to try and portray. What I really wanted to do is bring the viewer's attention to these branches right here. So the way that I did that was, now I use the radial tool a lot in Lightroom. I really love the radial tool. I'll just bring that down to a quarter there, and I'm just going to put that around there. We'll probably fiddle with this a little bit afterwards. And as far as the feathering goes, let's just bring it down just a little bit. Now what I'm going to do here is bring my exposure way, way down. And as you can see, I have this marker set so that you can see if something's too dark, or you can definitely see that it's way too dark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to flatten the blacks out a little bit. So the black slider here, I'm just going to bring up just ever so slightly. Now that might be a little bit too dark. Let's just bring that up just a little bit. The idea is to have this as the brightest section in the image and this kind of secondary. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cool down the outside of the frame and then warm up the inside of the frame. So the color temperature, I'm just going to bring it way down, and you can see that all of a sudden those greens are starting to look very cool, as in temperature cool, not cool. And let's just fiddle with the whites here a little bit. The thing is with color is that you can really attract attention by color as well. And I've said this in a number of videos with Alistair Ben. And Alistair does this with quite a few of his images as well. He uses cool and warm colors to kind of make certain aspects of the image to recede, and then the warmer colors tend to come forward. So if you want to really bring attention to something, then you can generally warm it up a little bit, and that will help in bringing that attention. Okay, so we've done that. Now we're just going to grab another new radial tool, same area, except this time, just bring the feathering down a little bit. This time we're going to warm it up. And what I'm going to do here is actually use the DEHAZE slider, and I use this quite often to add a little bit of atmospheric haze. Oops, we want to, invert that. So now you can see all of a sudden that light that everybody was telling me was fantastic light. Yes, it was nice light, but it wasn't anything like what I'm showing you in the final result. So, you know, I do like to tell people when I've actually done something to an image, it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable when someone says to me, oh, you had absolutely beautiful light. How did you, what great conditions? Well, it was and it wasn't. Some of that has just been enhanced in Photoshop. So, I mean, it's just a matter of moving this around a little bit. And I'm going to compare this to the other version here. You can see that this version is actually quite a bit cooler than this version here. So let's bring that down just a little bit. I have a hard time repeating what I've done in. I mean, some of the sliders I brought down to the same levels as they did in the first rendition. But I always have a bit of a hard time of repeating myself or repeating the whole process, because you're not quite as enthusiastic to do it the second time around, if that makes sense. All right. The trick is with a dehaze is not to overdo it. Like that's too much. Just want to bring a little. Basically, you're just bringing in or introducing a little bit of light bleed, so it looks like the light is coming in from the rear and coming through the two trees there. I'm just going to look at the end. Yep. All right. And I think that might be it. And then what I would do from here is bring this into Photoshop and just make a few more adjustments with curves and levels. And I won't go through all that with you. They're just little tweaks that I do. I will say though that some of this I would probably end up cloning out, especially across the moss here and this branch here in particular, and this big branch here. That is distracting, and possibly this one. I'm not sure if I did that in the, no I didn't. So all I did was just take out that branch here, and actually if you look carefully you can still kind of see it there and across here. That was the only one that really was, that I found really distracting. Like that. All right, so I hope that helps. As I said, the DEHAZE filter is an excellent way to really add atmosphere to a photograph, and also using these color sliders with the radial filter can really enhance certain areas and really bring attention to certain areas as well. Just remember that when you're, not all images, but a lot of images, the brightest area in the photograph is usually where the eye first goes. So if you have an area that's really bright in your image and you don't want the viewer's attention to be drawn to that area, then it's not a bad idea just to tone it down a little bit. And the reverse of that is if you want to bring more attention to a certain area, then just brighten it up. And it's very easy to do in Lightroom or Photoshop. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. If you're familiar with my channel, I do have what's called a join or membership subscription, whatever you want to call it, on YouTube. You can only really see it if you're using a desktop computer. I don't think the join button shows up on your phone. I'll leave a link down below. It is a subscription. It's you pay a certain amount per month, and I put on 1 to 2 videos per month of added content. It helps support me and my channel, and hopefully you guys get to see some of the benefits of the way that I process images, which incidentally is not, I'm not doing anything out of this world with my processing. It's quite basic, but it works for me. All right, thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and until next week, bye for now.